So I'm at the gas station, putting some gas in my car, and I look up at the price and I just start to cry. I couldn't believe that the price had gone up like 60 cents in one night. Like, how do you plan for that? You can't really plan for that. And, you know, literally, what do you do? Um, and I just kept thinking, oh boy, here we go. This is what I'm going to have to figure out now. Um, and if you've never cried at the gas station before, first of all, good for you. Second of all, give it a week. Welcome back to More Than Fine. I'm your host, and today we're going to be talking about stress, the good, the bad, and the ugly crying that happen to go when you're just trying to get to work and the world just keeps making it harder for that to happen. It's also May, which is Mental Health Awareness Month. So, talking about stress, it's a great time to have this conversation because stress and mental health are not separate things, they're roommates. They share the bathroom, they fight over the heat and the thermostat, the air conditioning, depending on where you live, and all of that. So, let's get into it. So, here's the thing I have a good job, I get paid a good wage, and I'm sitting here doing the math, trying to figure out, is it worth me driving as far as I do to get to work, or am I actually losing money by driving that far when all I want to do is do my job and get paid? Um, so I keep thinking to myself, if I'm asking that question, what about the people that are making minimum wage? What about the people who, have 3 kids to feed? What about the people who are on a fixed income? What are they doing? How are they making it? How are they figuring this out, right? Um, are they having to choose between gas and groceries? Are they having to choose like between, your spouse quitting their job because you can't afford gas and daycare and groceries? Like all of these things become just this whirling mass of stress in your head, and what are you going to figure out? And really, this isn't a hypothetical anymore. Like, this is literally next Tuesday. Like, what are you going to do? And then I think about the transportation, the truck drivers, right? um, I grew up, my dad was a truck driver for a long, long time, and so I understand that industry. And it's it's insane, the cost of diesel, and which means, they're putting more, especially if they're, independent drivers, putting more, costing more to put in the diesel in, which then they raise their prices, which goes to the company that they're hauling the stuff for, which then goes to the consumer. And then we have the rising prices of groceries. So then you're back to, can I buy groceries this week or put gas in my car? Because I don't think I can do both. And so it's just, you know, it it hits everybody. It hits some people before others, but the cost of all of this has to go somewhere, right? And it has to get passed on for people to keep their living. Um, and so this is literally everyone, and yet it seems like we all feel like we're just each carrying it alone, that this can't possibly, be happening to everyone. But it really is. Like, if you sit and think about it, and you think about the whole economic circle of how costs and prices and how it's all intertwined, right? Um, and so then, what does stress actually do? What does it actually do to us? And so here's where we bring in this mental health piece, right? Um, because it isn't about just feeling worried. This is what's called chronic stress. It's stress that it doesn't go away because the problem doesn't go away. It's long term, long acting, and it can actually change our body makeup and our mind makeup, our brain. Um, and so we come to that wonderful hormone called cortisol that everyone hears about. And when you're stressed out, cortisol stays elevated. And then you don't sleep because it's elevated. And then you get less patient with people, have a shorter temper, and you lash out at whoever gets in the way. And if you have kids, a lot of times it's the kids, which isn't healthy for anyone. Um, and then the kids become stressed, and it's just stress is this. It causes big emotions, and those have to go somewhere, right? And we talk about mental health as if it's separate from our real life, and it's not, right? It's real life causes some of this mental health struggles. Um, but people act like if you meditate and drink enough water and do some exercises, everything will be fine. Everything's fine, right? Everything's fine. Um, and I love a good breathing exercise as much as the next social worker. But sometimes that's just not going to do it. And this is not a mindset problem. This is um, a systemic problem. It's just what's happening in the world right now, and we have to figure out how to deal with it. So it's not just we can't just think positive and think our way out of this, right? We have to we just we're going to have to figure it out. And it's if someone tells you, oh, it could be worse. I really hate that phrase. It could be worse. That's just dismissing your stress and your struggle and how you're feeling about it, and just then you feel like you can't talk to anybody about it because you could be worse. That's the answer you're probably going to get, right? And it's not helpful. So what can we actually do with um, dealing with this stress and the long-term effects and the long-term stress that we seem to be having now with our situation that's happening in the world? Um, and so basically, first of all, just name it. Like, say it out loud. I'm stressed. This is hard. What am I going to do? This is real. I'm not gonna spiral in it. You can't spiral in it. You have to stop pretending it isn't there. And we just have to acknowledge it. And when we don't, because if we don't acknowledge it, it doesn't disappear. It doesn't go underground. Um, you know, if it does, sometimes it comes out sideways, and it backfires, and it just then you get more stressed with another thing added on, right? So step one is just being honest with yourself about how stressed you're feeling and how much you're struggling, and that it's okay to feel that way. Second of all, back to the breathing exercises, right? Um, and I mean, just actually breathe. Like, just take a deep breath and then blow it out. Um, Not just the calm down kind of breath that makes you want to, throw something at someone's head. It's the intentional breathing that's going to help tell your nervous system that it's okay and that everything is safe. And so one of those is something called box breathing, and it is used by therapists. It's used in Navy SEALs training. Um, it's a pretty easy one to do, and we teach a lot of kids this one. Um, and so basically, how it works is you inhale for 4 counts, you hold it for 4, exhale for 4, and then hold for 4. And if drawing the square, that might have been a rectangle, uh, helps you to do the counting, then that's what we encourage. It's kind of why we call it that. It's an exercise for the kids to do so they remember how to do it. So inhale for 4, hold it for 4, exhale out the mouth for 4, and hold for 4. So what this does is it slows down your heart rate, which causes the rest of your body to calm, and takes you from being reactive to something to being responsive. And it puts you back in your problem-solving brain, um, because if we're stressed out and in a state of heightened emotion, stress, our brains don't think properly. We're just reacting to what's happening around us. Um, and so we need it to operate full capacity. So we need to try and get that cortisol to quit flooding our system, which is what's slowing the heart rate down, slowing the breathing, letting our nervous system know that we're safe, and lets everything get back online where maybe we can start to figure some things out. And here's going to be a little bonus science for you, involving the nervous system. So there's something called the vagus nerve, and what that is it's basically nerve central of our body. So it goes down from your brainstem all the way down through the core of your body, and it runs on either side of your neck, and the rest of the nerves in our body actually branch off of this. So it's your main one. And so these exercises are really made, some of them, to try and reset that nerve. So it's some of these exercises are pretty cool, and you wouldn't think that they're actual exercises. But if you think about things through your life, you probably have been resetting this nerve without knowing that's what you're doing, but your body knows. So your body just does it, okay? So it's basically your built-in calm down switch. So when you activate it, your nervous system gets the message that there's a threat. Then we do an exercise, and then it activates that it's safe to relax, okay? So how do we activate it? So here's a few ways, and some of them might surprise you. When you're doing like the box breathing, right? So you make your exhale longer than your inhale. Okay, so if you're inhaling for 4 counts, you exhale for 8. And that is the actual trigger to your nervous system, to that nerve, to calm your body down, because exhaling is what brings, you can kind of think of it as like, a balloon or the air coming out of your head down, and you're calming down, right? Here's the fun one. So you can actually hum or sing to activate this nerve. And I know it's insane, right? So I told you this nerve, right, goes down either side of your neck. Well, it runs along your vocal cords. So when you hum, that vibration goes to that nerve and instantly calms it. So right now, while I'm talking and doing this podcast, I am actually activating my vagus nerve and trying to settle down. That's why you're so nervous, maybe before public speaking or performing or something. And as you're doing it, your body starts to calm more and more. And this is partly why. You're just naturally doing it. And so humming is like proven to be almost the best exercise for doing this. So if you have those kids that are maybe walking around humming, we might call them hyperactive, having a hard time concentrating, but they start humming on their own, that is them actually trying to calm this nerve without knowing that's what they're doing to try and bring their body back down. Um, and so it's kind of cool. The other part of this is they say, music helps to relax the body, lower your stress level. Well, if you sing with the music, that's what you're doing, and you're actually lowering it more and faster instead of just listening to the music, which also helps because the beat of the music can help um, calm down the rhythm of your body. And um, so I think that, I like to sing very loudly in my car, sometimes well and sometimes not so well. And normally that's after a stressful day at work. And by the time I get home, a lot of my stress is gone. And this is why, because I've just naturally been doing that my whole life by singing loudly in the car. Another one is to splash cold water on your face. And this is like a jolt to the body where it's called the diving reflex. So your heart rate drops almost immediately after the shock of it, right? Um, and so that slows down and activates the vagus nerve. Um, so I know these might sound kind of woo-woo, but they're not. It's biology. It's just how our body works. And sometimes when you get this, it's kind of a amazing thing, really. A third way is to get grounded. Okay. So if the breathing isn't really helping much, or it just feels like that's too much to do, or you don't want somebody to look at you and be like, "What are you doing?" Um, you can try doing the grounding. Okay. So there's a technique called the 5-4-3-2-1 technique, and that is to name 5 things you can see, 4 things you can touch, 3 things you can hear, 2 things you can smell, and then 1 thing you can taste. And you do it in that order. So this pulls you out of the spiral in your head and back into your actual body, because it brings you to the actual room, your actual life, where you are, and back to the present instead of up in your head, right? Um, and it brings you to right now. And that's the only place you can really do anything about anything anyway. Um, a fourth way is to separate what is yours from what isn't, right? So you can do 2 columns. One column is what's in my control, the other column is what isn't, right? So my nasty gas prices, unfortunately, that goes into the column of what I cannot control, right? I can only control my response to it. So that would be how I budget, which would go in my what I can control. Um, how I talk to my kids, that's in my control. And how I explain to them maybe why things are tight right now, and we can't go to that movie this week like we normally would. Um, and it helps to separate those things because we tend to worry about things that really are not in our control, and there's nothing we can do about it. And so we just have to it's kind of another form of grounding a little bit in this exercise of going back to what we can do and what we can't do. So your work falls into that first column, right? And the second column, you have to let it go, as Elsa would say. And you don't have to be perfect about it. You might still worry about some of those things here and there, but hopefully not for forever. And if it's just letting go of those things for today, that's still a win. And maybe tomorrow you're going to need to do 2 new columns to remind yourself. Fifth way is always to ask for help from each other, from a professional, from whoever is in your life in your corner, right? Um, Isolation can make things much heavier, get heavier load on ourselves. Um, it's it's hard when you think that you're alone and the only one doing it. And so we are not, as humans, designed to carry all of this alone. And at some point, we're going to need some help. Um, and that's okay too. It's okay to ask for help. I tell the youth I work with, I tell the adults I work with. Sometimes I have to remind myself, right? It's okay to ask for help. Nobody's going to judge you for it, and um, most of the time, people are very willing to help. Um, so today, I started this episode with crying, ugly crying, in public, the worst kind of ugly crying. Um, and now I'm going to end with this. You don't have to be fine. More than fine isn't about pretending that everything's great. It's about finding your footing when everything is not great. Um, it's about knowing the difference between what you can control and what you cannot control, and figuring out and putting your energy in the right place to do what you need to do for you and your family. The price of gas, not in my control. I might still cry about it because I am a crier. Anyone who knows me, that's like the bane of my existence, but I am a crier. But how I talk about this problem I'm having, how I show up for the people in my life that might be having the same problem, how I keep moving on and keep going forward anyway, all of that part is mine. All of that's in my control. So I'll leave you with this. Keep going. Just keep going. Worry about what's in your control and what you can do to hopefully make that better and easier. And let go of the things that are not in your control. And do your vagus nerve exercise.